here because we believe that the rule of law should be followed by everyone, including the President of the United States. We're in a situation where the administration has sent someone here to El Salvador by mistake, admitted to it. A Supreme Court decision has come down to say you need to facilitate the return of this man back to the United States so he can go through due process. And the administration is saying, no, we're not going to do it. We got to be clear. This isn't just about him. This is also about every single person in the United States. The Constitution applies to all people in our country. Due process applies to all people in our country. It's one of the things that sets our country apart from other places across the entire world.
Democratic Senator Chris Van Hollen was the first, but he was just the start. 4 more members of Congress went to El Salvador today, including Democrats Maxwell Frost, who you saw speaking there, Robert Garcia, Maxine Dexter, and Yasamin Ansari, all to demand the return of Kilmar Abrego Garcia, the man the Trump administration sent to a mega prison in that country without any due process. In court, the administration admitted that sending him to that prison was what they called an administrative error. But it's not just him. The Trump administration has sent hundreds of people to that prison with little to no due process. The legal battle over that policy took a significant turn over the weekend. You might remember Friday night show. We talked about early reports that the Trump administration might have been trying to send a whole new group of people to El Salvador from the Bluebonnet Detention Center in Anson, Texas. On Friday night, we got in this footage of a bus full of people leaving that immigration prison in Texas, bound for parts unknown. Well, NBC News now reports there were as many as 28 people on that bus, most of them men from Venezuela. NBC News also now reporting that some of them on board were told they were being deported to El Salvador. And we showed you that video of that bus leaving the Bluebonnet Detention Center in Anson, Texas. But we didn't show you what happened next. What happened next is pretty remarkable. This is footage taken by NBC News of that bus getting on the highway, heading toward an airport in North Texas. There's a caravan of about 15 law enforcement vehicles traveling with the bus. But the bus and that huge caravan of law enforcement passes the exit for the airport. They drive past it. They abruptly turn around and looped back and came back to where they started, came back to the detention center in Anson. Now, we do not know exactly why that bus and that huge caravan abruptly drove to the airport, drove past it, turned around, and came back. A spokesperson for the Department of Homeland Security would not comment to NBC News about why the bus was turned around. But it may have something to do with Herculean efforts made by the ACLU, and specifically by the ACLU's legal arm, who's one of the lawyers who is leading the legal fight against these deportations and against this policy of shipping people to a foreign forever prison. That night, as that bus was leaving that prison in Texas, it was Legal Alert and his team who rushed to 3 separate courts within 5 hours to try to stop yet another group of people from being sent by Donald Trump to El Salvador, presumably with no way back, and potentially including the people on that bus. Again, 3 different courts in 5 hours to try to stop this from happening. Among other things that led to this extraordinary order from the United States Supreme Court issued in the dead of night at 1 a.m. Eastern Time, Friday night/Saturday morning. Quote, the government is directed not to remove any member of the putative class of detainees from the United States until further order of this court. In other words, by direct order of the United States Supreme Court, using clearer language this time, the Trump administration has been told they cannot send people out of the country on flights like this until the Supreme Court can weigh in further. 7 Supreme Court justices signed on to that decision. Thomas and Alito dissented. But the ACLU lawyer whose swift action led to that bus turning around, we believe, led to that dramatic decision at the Supreme Court, he joins us here next to talk about what's coming next. Stay with us.